Going.
All right, part two of day one of the MGTOW World Summit 2020 down in Melbourne, courtesy of Ronin Man organizing it. Thanks again, Ronin. I appreciate it. So does everyone else here. We've just been for lunch, had an amazing time. We're all back here together. And before we were just talking about, I guess, giving introductions of people and finding out what their intention is to get out of this weekend and what they're working towards. And the reason for this is we essentially want to understand what we can help people with, because we are all part of a collective of men here trying to help each other. So I'm going to kick it off with Trent for part two, and you can let me know what your intention for this summit is and what's happening with you.
So my name is Trent, and at the moment, I guess I'm in a stage where me and my brother are running a business and it's starting to really take off. So 2020 is going to be a big year for us, not just within Australia, but within the Asia Pacific region. So I guess the reason why I've come here today is because as the business grows, there's a lot more responsibility. So I'm trying to establish the mental frameworks to be able to process and evaluate my options and deal with the responsibilities that I need to basically handle. So at the moment, I'm responsible to about 50 to 100 people, just as my clientele. And as that grows, that's growing exponentially. So I need to work out how things are going to work, not just the processes that we have in place, but also mentally how I deal with that on my shoulders. So that's basically one of the reasons why I'm here today.
Did you want people to start responding or not?
If they want.
Anybody has something?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff here. Pass it over. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Because it's a great topic, by the way. No one's brought that up yet.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of experience here, actually. We have to think about
It's actually a question because I find myself not in a similar situation as you, because you're basically taking off and I'm just starting, and I feel that I'll be working with Asia a lot. That's just the feeling, the way I've researched things. That's my feeling, and you're a little bit concerned about how you can mix your business life almost like with a personal life, and like mentally trying to be able to handle all of the aspects of the business and your personal life.
It sounds like mature as a businessman, right? To go to the next level, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
also, there's
that's okay.
the aspect of
I'll hold it. So
it's not just sort of within the safety of Australia. So we're looking at moving into Papua New Guinea. So it's a very different place in terms of security and how we deal with that and the mental frameworks around that situation, because it's a very dangerous place.
Right.
Okay.
I got some ideas. If you're done.
All right. So have you been to Asia? Any countries? And you've been to Papua New Guinea?
No, not yet.
Right, and they're the people that you're working with mainly. Do you feel? Yeah. This is probably just like a little drop there, but I hope it's worth it. In Australia, for example, the thing is, you probably will come to a stage where you will probably end up needing an assistant, even, right? And to hire an assistant in Australia, whoever lives here knows, that'll be costly. And check on the internet, like for example, like getting a VA, like a virtual assistant, something like that. There's a lot of that. They're cheap. They can help you a lot. I mean, this is not experience. This is research that I'm going to be probably using this year at some stage, getting a virtual assistant. And a lot of the stuff that you doesn't really matter what at this stage, like what you're doing. The answers are there on the internet, and a lot of the help you can get from Asia. I mean, like if anyone like heard me, that's like the general public in Australia, that I'd be crucified. I'd be crucified immediately. You know, is that mine? Sorry about that. All right, it worked. Yeah, so research it, like how you can find help on the internet, and a lot of it you can actually outsource in Asia, and they will do a good job apparently. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
If you've only got a modest amount of work volume that you need done, not enough to fully justify the minimum service requirements of a VA, like, and D, say you've got someone, like you need stuff done, but you don't fully meet. I know a lot of people who are actually saying, well, we both need a VA. How about we chip in together, get one, and then split our workload. And then, you know, as the workloads increase, then you renegotiate that. But I think that's a really good starting point, particularly for people who have got an overflow of work, but not enough to justify hiring someone.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of different business models. So the stage I'm at is strategic alliances or partnerships. You don't want to do everything yourself. You don't want to employ someone up there who you've got to worry about trusting. It's like give them a cut, that's their business, and they're responsible for a whole lot of whatever that is they need to do. And then you like outsourcing, which is similar to the VA thing, but it's another step up where you can start to. You don't want to have it all under one banner. You want to like have a strategic alliance. Someone who's a specialist in their area in that country is going to get it done way better than what you could ever do it. That sort of thing.
Let's see. I'm going to say the exact opposite of everything. Yeah. I've helped a lot of companies set up in Asia, right? That's what I kind of, as a headhunter, that's what they contact us, right? Or we contact them, and you try to find companies they haven't gone yet. So they need a president, they need a strategy, they need an account, they need everything, right? They need to get the whole thing set up, their HR rules and everything, right? So I dealt with a lot of different companies, mostly American, but French, German, all kinds, who set up in Japan, and also like a lot of Hong Kong, because they have Hong Kong as their base, their Asia base, right? So I would say the opposite. It depends on the business. It totally depends on the business. For a one-man show, yeah, VA, Philippines is good. For somebody setting up a business, you're growing internationally, no fucking way. Because you really need to take it as seriously as you would take your Australian business, right? You have to take the same strategy. People have to know the culture of the company. You know, they have to understand, and they have to have a skin in the game. So they're part of your company, right? So even once you get it set up, still take them back to Australia, you know, once every couple of years or something. So they kind of know what's going on in the back home culture as the company grows. Like, make sure that it's a connection, because what happens in Asia is that companies, they have their own way of doing things, and also there's a lot of things to know. Like, there's a lot of tricks that they do, right? There's a lot of tricks. I'll give you one trick that's very common in Asia. When you go to a country, there'll always be one guy, and he's really helpful. Really fucking helpful. Like, he'll work for free. He'll help you out. He gives you a lot of advice, and he'll like find people for you. He'll find your office. He'll finds everything. That guy's poison, usually. And the reason is because his main job is kissing ass to the foreigners. Like, that's his specialty. And so what he does is he knows how to butter you up. He knows how to make you feel good. But actually, he's a major deterrent because he's building his own fiefdom. So he uses your company money as his own spending. Like, it's like his deal. Everything goes through him. He is the key to everything. And also, a lot of people generally don't like him. So in the sense that a very serious engineer will not like him. Okay, like a kind of a not talented guy will kind of like him, because the reason why he'll like him is like a dog. Somebody feeds the dog likes him, right? Right? Because, you know, those guys need jobs, right? And so he'll usually have a crew of guys that he brings to every company. It's like he's got his mangy crew that he takes over to every company. And then he's like, oh, I can find guys, you know. It's the same guys he had before. It's his friends. It's something like that. And so these guys depend on him. So they will like live off of him. He gets the deal. They live off him, right? And it's all a lot of corruption. A lot of things get bought that never get a lot of computers get bought that, don't get used in the business. A lot of money flying out the door all the time. A lot of things get every table you buy is overpriced. The money just gets skimmed off right and left all the time, right? And also they tend to make competitors as soon as you piss them off. They tend to either join your competitor or create a competitive company to you. So those guys, they're just basically, just always remember, would I hire this motherfucker back home? Like, is this guy the level that I would hire in Australia? And the answer is always no with these kind of guys, because they're not really specialists. They're like fucking generalists, right? You're GPS, right? You're doing a specific fucking business, right? You need somebody who understands your fucking business. Fuck generalists. I can learn? Fuck that. No way. You want somebody who understands. They studied overseas. They studied this. They understand a lot. Like, they might even technically know more than you about maybe related stuff. Maybe not exactly, right? You have to find that magic mix. Like, if there's no GPS, then you have to find something that's similar. So, for example, one of the searches that we were part of was they needed, that fake crab meat, from Japan. Yeah. Well, the first company that needed to make that, when they first made that, they needed to get somebody to do the crab meat flavor, right? So they went to the headhunter, and they said, well, I need a fake crab meat flavor guy. And then they said, well, that doesn't exist. How do you find him? So they said, that's your job. You're a fucking headhunter, right? So then what happened was, got a guy who was had to be creative, right? A cat food flavor guy. And he understood flavor and foods, right?
Meow.
And so that was the first crab, was a cat food flavor guy, right? And so sometimes you can't get an exact guy, but you has to be damn close. Like, that's as close as you could possibly get at that time. There was no crab meat, right? Fake crab meat, right? So sometimes you can't get the exact guy, so you have to think very rationally about where he would be and work with smart people. So the other thing is that let's see. You don't want to have like orbiters around the business, because you sounds like you have a good business, right? And so the last thing you want to do is teach people like the gems, and then they can do it with anybody, right? You really want to make sure there's people you trust. So what I would do is I would go there myself. I would set it up. I would trust myself. Fuck the idea of being localized. No way. That's like, this is like total bullshit in my mind. I've done a lot of business. I understand the value of localization. I understand. But in the beginning, no. You have to do it the way that works and the way that your business thinks. And you have to, it's like when Walmart goes in a new country, they cannot be too like a Japanese company. They're going to lose. Because Walmart has a skill. You have a skill. You have, there's the DNA to your company. You got to bring that DNA and make sure that it is clear that this is your company. They'll say, well, it's different this. And then you say, no, it isn't. It's like, this is our company, right? And don't let people sway you. Be solid. You know what works. You know what you're doing. It's the same here. I mean, there are small things that are different, but this mindset will win out over the wishy-washy. Oh, yes, we're going to do it different here. We'll have rats and wheels running around instead of batteries, or whatever. Seriously, that's the kind of stuff. Like in Japan, you can't use Tide detergent because the Tide's different water. People actually said that. And then one company, which I know very well, they said, we're bringing in fucking Tide and you're going to buy Tide. And they did. And it was like huge. Everything they said you couldn't do, he did, and it worked. So a lot of times the locals are very closed-minded. They think a certain way. So when you come in a new way, you actually I'm sure there's a lot of examples like this. People say it can't be done. It's exact opposite, It's it's exact opposite. No one's ever offered it to them. So that's one thing. And I'll give you one really example of my life. Is a friend of mine ran a factory in China, and it was a lot of friends, but this one was a motorcycle factory, and he was having a lot of trouble. And I know the guy quite well, and I'd helped him with a few other things. I knew him since '94, and so one day he calls me. He's like, man, you're good with people. I need to fix this problem. And I speak Chinese too. So he said, can you help me figure out what's wrong with my factory? They're not making enough motorcycles anymore. It's fucked up. And he's like, I can't figure out what it is. So I was like, okay. I said, I will go, but now I'm older. Now I make the rules. I know what works for me and what doesn't. I said, listen, I will come, but do not tell me what to do at all. Like, let me totally, once I get into your factory, let me totally do what I want. And then later we can talk about it, but just ignore me. Let me do whatever the fuck I do. So he's like, deal, totally. He's like, I got to get this fixed. So I thought, what I need to do first is I need to find out what's wrong. And they never want to tell you. So I said to myself, I said, okay, what can I do? So first thing I did is at the guard, there's a guard, and he was smoking. So I went down to the store, got a pack of cigarettes, and I gave him a smoke, and he was like really happy. So I took a cigarette. I don't smoke, but I smoke with him. So I'm sitting with the guard and smoking. And then the guard was like, cool, man. Like he's being super cool. Guards know a lot. Maids know a lot. Low-level people can tell you all the secrets, right? So I was like, just talking to him, and I said, what kind of company, what's the deal with this company? And he's like, yeah, this and that. And he told me one particular guy's name that he didn't like, and this and that. So I said, oh, okay, So I was like, cool, man, thanks. And I give him the cigarettes. So I go in the factory, and I'm choking because I hate cigarettes, and I actually smoked them, like, oh, God. So I went in the factory, and I watched this guy. And I wanted to see how he interacted so I could understand what is going on. So I just sat in the corner, like I sat like behind that statue on the wall. Like I just sat there, just leaned against the wall, sat there. And I just like pretended like I was his friend waiting for him. And so I was just watching everything. And I was watching him, and he was like yelling at him and ordering around and being a total dick. And I was like, ooh, interesting. Because I know this guy, but he was being a total dick when he's the boss. And they were like these low-level Chinese, and he was treating them like, I thought pretty stupidly, So I was like, okay, that's pretty bad. Like, I was like, oh, no, I can see right now. But that actually wasn't the problem. So I just sat there for a while. So I just waited. Then he left, and I just sat there. And then finally, this one of the workers comes up to me, and he goes, I just was friendly. I got looked at him, and then finally he looks at me, and he goes, you're not like the other foreigners, are you? And I go, no. He goes, what do you want? And I said, I need to find out what's going on with this company. Why you're not making motorcycles like before? He goes, and he's like, the Chinese guy is like, he's like, yeah, I said, look, anything you tell me is not going to my friend. Fuck him. Just tell me so I know. I just need to figure this out. I'll figure out a way that will not hurt you. That you tell me something, it's not going to, I will never use the information you tell me to hurt you or like without your permission. So even if you know the problem, you tell me, and then you say not to tell, I won't tell. And then he was like, he looked at me and he's like, finally he comes over, he goes, okay. He's like, the deal is this. He goes, that guy over there, he's the fucking problem. He goes, there's one mechanic. There was one mechanic who ran the main. He he had all the tools and he handed them out and everything. And he said, that motherfucker runs the whole company. And he's a total dick. And when anybody joins the company, he won't even give them tools. Because if anybody's good, he wants them fired. Because he wants to be the big boss. So he wants to be the man. And that foreigner trusts him and treats him like a god, and he's a total fucking asshole. He's ruined the company. But nobody can say anything and nobody can do anything. And he's like, and then he's looking at me like he just bared his soul. Like I'm gonna fuck him. I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck can we do about this? And he's like, I don't know. So I just sat there, smoked a few cigarettes with them. Then the other guy left. They kind of went home, and a few guys stayed with me, and we're just sitting there smoking. And then one guy said, you could fire him during Chinese New Year, because that way, he won't be able to talk to anybody. Nothing bad will happen to us, and nobody will know that it was because of anything, And I said, Chinese New Year, okay. What should he say? How should he fire him? And he told me exactly what to say. So then I went to my friend, and I still didn't trust my friend, because after watching him, I'm like, God, he's like two personalities, right? Like when he's got people below him, he's a total fucking ogre, right? So I was like, fuck, how do I get this guy to do it without, being in a cunt, right? Yeah. Because even if he doesn't say it, they're going to think I said, right? So I'm like, okay, look. You got to do this. You got to do it exactly like I say, or I'm not going to fucking tell you anything. And then he's like, okay. And I said, okay, like fire him this way, say this. Boom. Guy was gone. Factory up like 40%. Bike quality up, everything, better clients, everything moving out the door. So that all solved not because I hired some local guy. I'm me, right? I just know people. So you have to understand The things are very simple. Problems are usually very fucking simple. It's usually a people problem, usually. And so you have to be somebody they trust, that you're not gonna fuck them over. So everything you do is gonna be watched. Right? Everything you do. The way you walk, the way you sit, the way you spend money, things you eat, the way you treat people. You give everybody hand jobs and then behind their back. Everything's watched with these guys. It's very primitive in these countries, like the beginning of capitalism, you know? So they're really watching. And the truth is that these guys actually look to you as kind of, they look up to you. Because you are somebody that can give them something very valuable. Skills to move up in the world. So they have to feel that you're going to kind of bring them up. You're going to think about them.
Because you're the compass, you're their lead, and you are the one that creates the culture in which they thrive, if they are going to thrive.
So the good people, but you have to find the good people. So that's a hard part. You will have some bad people, but basically you have something to give them, right? You know? And so they understand that, but they're also not going to kiss your ass, and they don't want you to look down on them. So it's a balance. But they do want something from you, and you want something from them. So if you understand your job and their job, you have to so for example, you might if you find somebody that you think is not the hand job to the foreigner guy, but it's actually an engineer or something that you really trust, or a salesman, whatever, then you want to take care of him. Bring his wife in, take them all out to dinner, make sure the family's happy, because the family is the fucking key to him. Not the salary, it's the family. So you got to make sure that you act like the big boss. The big boss in these poor countries, he doesn't throw money around. He just does certain things. And you got to find out in Papua New Guinea. But in the Philippines, there's certain things you do. For example, you take them out to dinner. You bring the family. You make sure it's a good dinner. Everybody has a good time. Everybody feels good. And they get a lot of face. And everybody feels like, this guy, I can trust this guy long term. Because most foreigners, they don't do anything I'm saying. They just come in like idiots. It's just like a whirlwind of shit. Guys lose their careers, and just pain happens. They got to know that you're real, and you're just here to help. You're here to do this thing. You want to do this thing. You want to help them. You want to make money. And here's what you need to do. And then you will kick total ass, because you will find the good people, you know. And the good people usually don't want money. The good people, they usually want opportunity. That's what they want, the good people, right? Just think of the people that built Australian infrastructure back in the day. You know, they weren't money grubbing, right? They were the guys who were going to do it.
And on top of that as well, I mean, if you've got the family on board, then that's almost like an insurance policy to some degree, because if the guy who's working for your company then goes and fucks up, the family's going to be pissed at him for screwing up the good opportunity, because that was their ticket to security. And also it's like, we actually cared about this company that you worked for, and you went and screwed it up, and now we are pretty much dissociated by default because you were our link.
Oh yeah, and never flirt with the girls at office. Never fuck any girls in the office. Never bring any girls by the office.
Yeah.
Don't do anything like this. Stuff is very, very watched.
Cheapens it, doesn't it?
They'll let you do it, but it's not good. It's very smart to never do it. Do not do anything like that.
Because the amount of respect that people hold for you in your business.
These girls are part of the home team. Right?
Yeah,
You want to treat them with respect too, because you're treating them with respect. They're watching how you treat everybody. Right?
Yeah, and people look out for these girls, and so like Ronin said, if you're not treating them with respect, then you're not acting in a way that's respectable, which means that the people around you won't respect you, and if they don't respect you, they won't follow you. They'll fuck you over, and there's your company gone.
And they'll put a fucking cog in your fucking machine quicker than you can fucking know.
They'll screw you over. They will actively seek out opportunities to take you down.
Yeah. One last thing, very important. Never pay bribes.
Yeah.
Do not pay fucking bribes.
Why is that?
You do not pay bribes. Okay, everybody I know pays bribes when they first go to a country. Because one, they think they're James Bond. People, really, they think that's exciting. Westerners are fucking idiots, right? They're just they feel like here's my chance to kind of this nefarious world. It's so exciting, I'm going to pay a bribe and he's going to do what I want.
Is that like taking a hot woman on a really expensive date?
Well, as soon as as soon as you pay a bribe, is you are partnering with a bad person, and And I know this rule. Some people listening to this with experience will disagree. Okay, there's certain people do have different ways of doing business, but I can tell you that my experience and a lot of my really successful friends will all say the same thing: is no way. Because even if you fail, even as a company, it's just don't go down that road. Because you just look at them like men. Like, look, I would, I respect you. I don't look down on them if you're asking them for a bribe either, but don't pay it. Just say, look, this company does not pay bribes. We just don't do it. We just will not do it. And if you hold that line, but we will do this. We will do this. We are long term here. We are not going to screw you in the back, stab you in the back. And there will be some sticky situations, but 1 out of 100 companies will not pay bribes, and those are the ones who last. Because once you start paying bribes, it's like paying the mafia for protection. Once you pay protection, they're going to up the fucking ante. Right? Once it's $10, it's $11, it's $12, it's $100, it's $2,000, and it just goes higher and higher and higher and higher, and finally you're out of business. So I personally never paid bribes, and I know a lot of people would think I did because they're like, "Hey, he's like out of the box, working in these countries." But this is one thing I was like a fucking Presbyterian minister. I mean, I just was clean as clean. I would not, because I knew once you go into bed with these guys, it just gets worse. So I may as well, if the business doesn't work here, it doesn't work, right? You know what I mean? So it's a tough one. The French pay bribes. So if you're going to pay bribes, study the French. They're the best at it. They're the closest to understanding this type of thing. But I don't recommend it as like Australian. I don't think you don't know it well enough to do it. It's very dangerous business. It can be done. Some people do succeed. I'm not going to say, but a big French company I know did it well, but it's not common. But being fucked over is very common. So I would just say, you're yourself. Nothing changes. Corporate culture, looking for good people. Trust yourself. Be honest. Everything is being watched, and provide value, and you will be surprised. Like, they will really help you. I got one last thing. It's very valuable, actually. The most successful guy I personally know, maybe not the most, one of the most successful guys I know in China. He went to China in 87, Japanese guy. And I was interviewing him. He makes products for 100 yen stores. It's like the dollar store. And then he sells them in Japan. He has 100 yen stores. And he does the factories to make them. And I asked him, I said, how did you get so successful? Because he owns this huge office, like big money. Plus he owns a lot of other stuff. And he's like, I know he does a lot of business too. And I was like, how did you do it? He goes, my secret, which I didn't even know was a secret at the time, is that he said, I went to China with no money. And so anybody who was a scammer didn't want to do business with me because he had nothing. He was like a student. And he said, only good people surrounded me. And those were good people for life.
Never, ever, ever say anything about one of the other people and stuff, because they're all cousins. When you go to another country like that, you might not know it, but the fucking guy sweeping the floor is a cousin to the fucking engineer. And they're all related. And I have experience with that, with Nepalese and Filipinos. They're all cousins no matter what. And you better have your A game on and be friendly and nice, because they're all cousins. Is that right?
That's general stuff. When you start to talk about distribution and stuff, I can give a lot more. Like just general stuff.
They are.
Yeah, I would say what the company is or what's the...
You start on the camera.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That it?
Did you have anything else you wanted to
Nah.
I'll just mention sort of one thing that is probably going to be a big learning that I'm going to have to go through, is working out how to manage the logistics of something like this, because it's armed guards from the airport to the compound, armed guards around the compound and stuff like that. So
Why do you need to go to Papua New Guinea first?
to manage or the
There's demand.
that's where the demand is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't go there if I.
Being the guy
For a
that they
holiday.
trust, you will get the advice. Trust that. If you're a dick, you will not, and you could get killed. No joke.
It's
Your
dangerous.
life is on the line. But also, you can make a great success.
That's
too.
even worse.
Yeah. It's awesome opportunity. It's good shit, man.
One thing about Papua New Guinea is the culture of the people as well. So Australia left in the 70s because it was part of our territory, and like they built brand new hotels and infrastructure, but they don't have a word in their language for maintenance. Okay, so they don't know how to look after anything. They just use and abuse. So that could be something as well.
And that's sort of one of the reasons why they need our product.
Yeah.
Cool.
My name's Dave. Just turned 49, much to my disgust. Getting closer to the halfway point, as you say. So, but yeah, I guess I found Ronin's channel maybe beginning of last year, and it's funny when you hear something, you hear the truth, and it resonates. And so from my experience, started like everyone, started out very blue pill, did the whole career thing, and then you start to ask questions. And long story short, it's like you make all the mistakes. So got married, had a daughter, marriage didn't work, and just out of iteration, when it goes bad, you pick yourself up and you get back on track. Very similar to what everyone's sort of touched on, and for me now, I'm like 8 years out of the marriage. I've got a good relationship with, sort of fixed all that, and gone down the red pill road, which is where you start to research and find out what went wrong, which then gives you the springboard to launch again, is what I've done. So I got out of my industry and went into business. So I've been doing business now for 10 years, and that's sort of just been iteration. So one pivot after the other, and keep going, and then you find the magic combination. And so we've just done a massive project last year, and it's funny because 2019 was a challenging year, and for me, I'm at the stage where the business is at the scaling stage, where I've been doing all the technical stuff, and I've got teams of people, but I haven't got the process of the combination of getting those building team. So I had my team that I built disintegrate during this project, and then I had to step back into the operations side and build a new team on the fly, and we got out of it, and it was a great result. So I'm sort of now post this year, I'm like sort of sitting on the fence, going where to from here, because I have to scale. It's a massive business. It'll scale to it's got a lot of potential, and now I'm like questioning, well, do I actually want that? So I've got a lot of options, and for now it's like having lost all my time in the last 3 months of last year, I'm now like questioning like what I value is my time, and getting paid for that, and then also outsourcing, making sure that I can build a team where they're going to run the company, and go from there. So, and I think why I'm here is because of resonating with a lot of Ronin's knowledge and experience. But I also know that the types of guys that we're going to be here, it's like, it's a brains trust. The value is in people and experience and network. So for me, I'm like pretty much open mind. I don't really have any agenda or anything I want to solve. It's just going with the flow, and what Ronin talked about earlier as far as, and what Sydney was saying is like the grit and determination to hustle will get you out of a bind, but you can't live there. You can't build a business and go forward. So, and then what Ronin was saying, it's like in that whole chaos theory that it comes out of nowhere at you. I've learned to trust the process, and then you can get to a point where once you go through your fear, like literally what happened was I avoided making hard decisions that I knew I had to make, which ultimately came back to bite me in the ass. So you can't get away from it. You have to go through the fear, and you have to address shit. Otherwise, it will come back to bite you. And that's the courage that you need to do and step forward and to keep going. What I've learned out of that is that the process that it takes is you've got to trust yourself and back yourself, and then it's a 3 iteration where it's trust, surrender, and then you have faith that it's all going to work out. That's like it sounds like a simple thing, but it's not, because it's the whole universal thing coming at you where you were describing earlier in part 1, where you've just got to be in the moment and trust what's coming, or what's happening is actually happening for a reason. So yeah, I don't know. It's just at a inflection point, and deciding how I'm going to move forward from here. That's about it.
What do you think is going to, gun to the head, where do you think you're going to go? Where do you think you want to go?
It's too big of an opportunity to let go. So I'm thinking we had we're in the timber business, so it's a very hard it's hard on people. So I've identified automation, so we can get 7 access robots that will do the work, and it's going to be amazing. So I've solved the scalability problem. So now it's a matter of actually building the team around that technology, getting investment, and setting it up where I'm removing myself from the business where it can run by itself. And then it'll be a decision of whether I sell it or stay in it and move forward. But ultimately I'm not going to build a business if I can't get my time back. I don't want to get buried in that again. So
you have to fire a lot of people and get rid of a lot of people that are there now, kind of thing?
It was this process of attrition because they weren't capable, they didn't step up, or it was too much. So, but then what was interesting is the caliber of people that eventually came in could hold, and so I ended up building a really good team of guys. But it was totally different to the first time I tried. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's sometimes it's just experience. Like, you've got to go through it. If you do it by yourself as opposed to hiring someone that's done it before. So that's what I'm getting at is the business is big enough where I'm scaling in a number of ways by bringing partners or strategic alliances in other fields. So I don't want to go and spend $1 million on equipment and go into that business when I can just hire that equipment and have a relationship. So then I just put my hand on it and can control it or work. They're in alliance, and then I get that done. But the one section that's always held us back, we now can automate and move forward. So basically it's 90% done. I've just got to click it together and get it going. So yeah, but it's more
what's stopping
you? Well, we've just gotten out of, we literally have just gotten through last year, and so now we're moving forward this year. I'm just having some time off. This is part of this trip, and just having to think about it before I go forward again in a big way. I don't want to make any more mistakes, so to speak.
So if you automate, we have to get rid of guys.
No, it's not full automation. It's just it's a manufacturing process that we had 2 work health and safety incidents, so it's a human factor issue. So the machine can do that way better.
So your issue is a little bit maybe your level of involvement in the business. So that's basically what you're struggling with a little bit. Like if you decide to go ahead, you are kind of like cautious if you're gonna get bogged down again. Like few more
Yeah, I don't want to be carrying all the load.
Right. So that's one of your kind of issues.
Yeah, because I have high standards, and I want with what we do, it's technical.
Right, and to be able to run this business, do you have to? To be able to run this business, do you have to be here? Like once you automate it, do you have to be here in Australia, or you can do it from anywhere?
Yeah, once it's automated and going, I don't have to be on site. No.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got we've got the software already in place to run it. The
Right.
autopilot for the business is built. So
Right. Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good place to be. Yeah.
yeah,
You have to finance to get the equipment.
yeah, that's the next step up. Yeah.
Is that the,
Yeah, the first, so it needs a capital injection, and there's people that are in the wings ready to go with that. So, yeah.
Cool.
It's just a point of reflection, just to take a breath and go, do I want to do this type of thing? So, but it's more my time. I don't want to build a business again if I'm going to get stuck in it. So that's my caution.
How can you find out? Like, is there anybody you can talk to who's done it? Any bosses of companies like that, or any models that you can look at, or how can you find out? I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I left China, I said I'm never gonna be where the business is. I have to be there all day.
The good thing
never wanted
is,
to do that.
yeah, what I've basically been able to work out is my technical expertise for creating the vision that I can see, it can now be automated. So I can take myself out by the robots, and the software can do the vision, and then you just build all the arms and legs around that. So if it wasn't for that, I'd be scrapping it.
So like the job is to build the machine. Build the machine that replaces you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's on the shelf. We've got all that organised. It's ready. It's $500,000 and we're up and running. So
How long of a time investment is it before it's done? Like
6 months.
Okay.
6 month build.
So if you have to, you would do 6 months, like balls to the wall, 100-hour weeks, just to.
Yeah, whatever. Like we can just rebuild it and scale up in whatever time fashion I like. Really, there's no rush. But it's just good coming down here and like just getting completely away from it and into this space. It's very valuable. But yeah, otherwise, like I'm pretty good. Like I'm happy with where I'm at. Always knowing that you've got more to do. There's always something more to learn. But I feel that like because everything's symbolic, and like I've had a splinter in my finger for like 4 months, so I feel like there's something I've got to dig out. So.
Something's still hidden in there.
So there's a vulnerability issue or something. It may be a trust factor. It's like detachment, letting go of my baby. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah. Not being needed, right?
Yeah, which I know I have to be. Like it's not going to be successful if I'm not.
Like part of you doesn't want to be needed. Part of you wants to be needed. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah.
You got hobbies and shit you want to do, other shit you want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But that doesn't make you feel needed. That's the issue. It's like letting that go. And then that phase of your life, how do you phase out of that, right? I got it. I'll think about that. Okay. Yeah.
All right, so that's about it.
All right. Yeah, my name's Jim. I'm a good old boy from Ohio, Kentucky. And I started out in business when I was 19. I don't go into a lot of detail in history. I was successful. Went through a really, really, and maybe the story is bigger than the actual happened, but I went through a divorce that just wiped me out. Mentally, physically, and emotionally. It took me about 14 years of coming out of it, and went from being a business owner to being an employee, and did everything I could do, actually top of my fucking trade. Ended up in Saudi Arabia, driving locomotives as a locomotive driver, but that's not my original, and I've got an entrepreneur spirit. It's always been there, and had an opportunity to take some time off, and been traveling basically Europe, and then started in Saudi Arabia. I saw Ronin on the computer, kind of like, this guy's got a really, just some great little bits of information. I like focused on it. I was like, wow, this is good. Also Sydney, I saw him on things, and it's like, it kind of changed a little bit of attitude. And I saw this thing coming up in Australia, and it gave me an opportunity to, I was like, there's going to be a group of people I've never been around. And I was like, it helps, whether it's a success in business or success with people. I saw that it would just be an opportunity, and jumped on it. It was almost a snap decision. And what I'm looking at is, I'm a little older than a lot of the people here. I'm 57, just turned 57. But I've always had a young way of looking at things. Maybe a little bit of some people think it's naive, but I'm always able to flex into different things and move. I've never been the expert, but I've been the jack of all trades with things. And now I'm looking at what I can do. I've pretty much worn. I'm at a point to move on to something new. Whether it's to slow down or to speed up, I'm right at that point of trying to figure out whether I should speed up or slow down. Money's never been my motivator. It's always been to be successful as far as what I consider success, not really what somebody else is. But I got into a habit of being what other people want me to be a success. And I finally kind of figured out that it's what makes me feel a success. And that's what I'm looking for right now. Just kind of searching, kind of putting the feelers out in different directions. And I guess about 2 years ago, I was at in Eastern Europe at a train station, feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit out of place and things. And all of a sudden, it fucking just snapped on me that I really enjoyed the excitement of being someplace where other people would feel out of line or out of where they would, and searching for that. Whenever I'm uncomfortable with something, it means that that's where a change is going to happen. And I've never looked back. And it was a changing moment, but there's other changing moments. But it always seemed like it was where I felt the most uncomfortable was where the change is happening. And I was in Saudi Arabia, and then I was in different parts of Europe, and that excitement is what it's what motivates me. Whether it's with women or whether it's with people or interacting or whatever, it's maybe a little bit of an adrenaline junkie with it.
So, Jim, if I may ask,
Yeah.
You said before, money isn't your primary driver as long as you're achieving what success in terms of what it means to you.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what is your measure of success for you?
It always was to be the best at whatever I did, and I kind of lost that when I went through a large financial divorce and basically mental. I kind of lost that, and I kind of floated for years without having that feeling, and sort of been rejuvenated in about the last 2 years with feeling. It's not a financial, it's not a having. I mean, I've had a lot of people working for me, and I've been all over the place with it, but it's more of a success of where at the end of the day I can look back and go, yeah, I'm proud of what I've done. Whether it's with interaction with people or it's with interaction of what I'm doing business-wise.
Well, this is just the beginning of your forward momentum towards
this is
your future successes.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you consider.
Yeah, and it's not a thing I'm looking at like changing the world or anything. It's if it's in Kentucky sitting in a cabin raising chickens, I'll be a success. If it's doing something in manufacturing, I'll be a success, and that's what I'm looking at.
So when you've got your little chicken farm in Kentucky, how many cocks are you hoping to raise?
Maybe a couple dozen, maybe some pigs, a couple hogs, but it's not a it's a success that I am achieving, and it's not a. It took me a long time to not be succeeding what other people think I need to succeed. It's on my own, and like I said, whether it's relationships, like with sexual or friendships or anything, it's or business. I mean, it's at the end of the day, feeling I've done good.
What do you hate? I mean, what? It's hard to understand what you mean by like. What do you not like?
Well,
That maybe other people would think was success. Like
probably dishonesty and people who are hiding, whether it's women hiding what they really want, or it's people being dishonest or not
business you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
Stuff that you don't feel like it's
And I've learned a lot of psychology with it, and just kind of watching people and kind of the little twitch in their face or their little, and learning that. Nobody ever taught me that, and I didn't know it. I mean, there were times when I would spin my wheels dealing with people who really didn't have my best interest in line, and the little signs of things that they say and things that they do, but I didn't notice those signs and just kept going and going and going, and find out I was just basically like Fred Flintstone with his feet dragging on the ground spinning, like a cartoon, and learning how not to be that way. And it's taken me a long time, and I'm getting better and better at it, of not falling into the trap of just spinning my wheels. And maybe I'm getting a little too old but I feel like, I feel good. Feel good about who I am.
That's great. Well, just one thing before we go on to the next. With respect to what you were saying about how, and to paraphrase, you don't like it when people hide what it is that they really want.
Yeah.
If I may impart my take on this, a lot of people don't know what they really want. So to assume that they're trying to hide what they really want, it's not that a lot of people try and hide from you what they really want. It's that a lot of people are just constantly moving aimlessly towards what they think they want, and sometimes that conflicts with you. So, I think when people can realize that most people don't know what they want, and that it's not so much about that, I think if we feel like people are trying to hide from us what they want, that can actually cause resentment from us towards them. And I've got this saying, and to this day I've never heard anyone else repeat it in the same way, but expectations are the breeding grounds of resentment. So if you expect people, if people have expectations of you, you may resent them for expecting something of you. And if you have an expectation of someone else that remains unmet, particularly if you haven't even communicated that expectation, that can cause resentment as well. We see this all the time in families and relationships. There's unclear communications and no setting of boundaries. And, that's something that I know that Ronin's talked about in many different ways in the past as well.
And I was always an appeaser. I was always the guy that was the appeaser.
The people pleaser.
People pleaser.
And it took me, and it was just a natural thing. It's what I learned from maybe my relatives and things, but I found out that that's not really what it takes to make yourself happy. You've got to find it inside yourself instead of what other people want.
Okay, I guess so. Maybe I'm just guessing, but have you always done partnerships?
I was.
Yeah, because if you're doing partnerships, you have these kind of problems. The thing is, what I would do is I'd go back and say, what in me is stopping me from doing my own fucking thing? Because, you know, when I was younger, I had a lot of good ideas, and I just didn't have the confidence to do it myself. Like many times, I could tell you a million stories, like really sad stories, where I had the idea, I had the money, I had everything ready to go, and I just didn't have the confidence. And I would bring in somebody as a partner, and then it would all fall apart. And it happened more than
exactly what happened to me.
right. And so what it was for me is I finally realized through pain, I mean intense pain, like really a lot of pain, a lot of loss. I finally realized that it was what I was doing. It was a self-confidence issue. It was self-esteem, self-confidence, because I had the idea, I had the concept, I had the designs, I had the whole thing set up. I didn't need anybody else. Like I literally didn't. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying like I don't need it. I just for this business I had it what I needed. And I just needed somebody to talk to, like a buddy that was part of it. But that ends up ruining it, right? Because as soon as you make real money, shit changes. And so the key is, I think for myself, is when I finally realized that I don't mind having a partner. I would like to partner with the right person, you know, depending on the situation. But I was going at it from a perspective of a very needy person who just needed somebody to kind of like a buddy, kind of like that movie last night, you know, these buddies, these fake buddies, they needed the other one to say. It's like, and I needed to say, like at some point I had to like really look at my businesses and say, it was really painful for me to figure this out too, you know. It's like, wait, I had the idea, like I had the money, I had the business. Like, why did I need a partner? You know, what was it in me? It's not their fault if I'm bringing them in. If there's no space for them, right? I bring them in, it's just going to be problems. You know, it's just like bringing a third person into marriage. Like, there's no space for them. You know, it's just like, they're just, you know what I mean? So I would do that, and then I would wonder why and actually it was me, it wasn't them. Is like, as soon as you start succeeding, everybody wants to be your partner. And that's what always would happen to me.
I was the idea guy. I was always the one that came up with the idea.
The idea, yeah.
Got things started.
No, I can read it. That's all I'm saying. It, you know, and it's exactly so. The thing is, you have to like, instead of talking like that, instead of talking shit, do it, and say, I am going to do a business all myself, unless there is something that I need. So, for example, if you need, let's say, an investment of $700,000 you don't have, then you need to have a partner and you need to find them. But the knee jerk, bring in somebody to make me feel like it's okay, or to like brainstorm. It's like, I had to finally say, no, I don't like that, because it never, it's kind of like you're saying, like there's so many things I can relate to. Like, I've passed so many businesses up because I don't feel comfortable that they're like morally right for me, essentially. And most people just don't feel that way. Like really, most people, if they're making money, they feel it's good. And I can't blame them. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that like most people are not like me. Really, they're not. And so for me, it's just different. So I have a different way of looking at business and stuff. And it's easy when business, everybody will tell you, you have to be like this. You have to have contracts. Like I haven't even been like collecting money. Like I you have to like force me to give me money. Like I have my own way. I just don't like it. I don't have any, like, it's like, I've got my weaknesses and stuff, right? But at the same time, I have my strengths, and they're really good. So the thing is to focus on that and really find a business that you can do yourself. And then you can hire people, but you can do yourself, you know, and don't bring in people, because the feeling of people letting you down is usually because they shouldn't have been there in the fucking first place.
Yeah, I went through.
And so, yeah, trust yourself.
19 years of every single day in a fight with my partners.
I mean, literally, sometimes it would be knockdown, drag out fight with partners that wanted to do things differently.
Love to see that. That'd be cool.
And had my twin brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got a twin?
Identical twin. Every fucking day. It was
love to see that, man.
knockdown, drag out fight, and at the same time I was married. married to a woman that was fucking crazy, and the combination of everything just it wore me out. I got to
probably goes back to childhood. That's
Yeah.
my favorite
Oh, yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Self-esteem. So
Yeah.
I would say now, put it on the table. Here's a business. Well, did I have partners? Did I fucking need them? Why
Yeah.
did I bring them in? You know, why did I bring them in?
yeah,
Because you realize it wasn't them.
yeah,
It was your own weakness, right?
yeah, exactly.
But no, I'm not saying it's I'm not saying like blaming it at all. I'm saying like there is a reason for that. Trust me. I'm not going to go into that. But once you realize that, you can just accept it and then just say, wait, what do I really want? I want to be like that guy who has his own business. He makes his own decisions and he runs his own show. And not because people will say, whenever you're in this struggle, morons will quickly say that you're into power and all that. It is absolutely not true. Okay? It is absolutely not true. And you know it's not true. When you have an idea and you're the only one that can do it, you have to just go do it. You know? You know what I mean? You just have to go do it. You know it's there. Go fucking do it. Make a plan and don't do businesses that you need a partner. At least for the next one. That's my advice. I would not do a business with a partner.
That's what I'm planning on.
Fuck partners. Get your plan and weed out those problems that you had because they won't go away easy. And then say, I'm gonna do this for myself, even if I fail.
And most of my problems is I'm not a technical guy that sits around and worries about the details. I'm the broad brush. And,
Okay, let me tell you, I got something on that.
Yeah.
Right. So I had another online business right before this, which is still my main business, and it's full of complicated things that I don't know how to do. So what I did was I hired somebody to create websites, members areas, all this complicated stuff, right? And so as I got more and more dependent on this guy. So he wasn't a partner, but I needed him for everything. And if anything went wrong, I was always like under serious stress because he didn't always move at the same. He didn't have the same. Like for me, it was life and death, right?
Oh.
And so what I said is I really went to the fucking caves in the desert on this one. I said I'm gonna make a new business where everything that I do I can do myself. And what am I good at? I'm really good at making videos. I'm really good at communicating, talking, doing different. Like I'm really good at certain things. I'm really bad at other things. See, so you notice, like for example, just an example, this event is very different than any other event. It's not organized. It's not this, but it's doing it the way that is comfortable. I could have like hired this, made it official, and then I would be very uncomfortable and I would not like it. Where I figured if I just keep true to myself totally, and then people that are like me will come and want to do stuff with me and want to do, and not be anybody else, not do anything, and everything I can do myself. Everything in my business now, in all of my businesses, I can do myself.
The other thing,
And it was not easy. It sounds easy. It was fucking hard. Okay, and I'm the only guy I know that did it. Let me just finish because I'm serious. I showed my business model to a guy, and he's the boss of the guy that's going to call tomorrow to teach us online business. And he listened to my business model. He's kind of a professional. He's a consultant, right? And he looked at my business model and he goes, "So you just do it this way, like basically under your YouTube video you have like a PayPal, And I said, yeah. And he goes, that is like, nobody does that for $1,000. Nobody does that. He said, that's like asking a girl, do you want to have sex in the office or something? And he says, I literally don't know. I said, I can't help you. He goes, you're above me. He goes, you're doing things I can't do. And so I realized that it was all about putting myself out there and trust and really being honest and really, and hopefully I could touch somebody and somebody would feel. And I do the same thing in my real estate business, the same thing. It's exact same. I'm the exact same. And I'm just super putting myself out there, what I am, what I can't. And then the people, they really sense, because there's so much bullshit out there, they sense that I'm actually telling the truth, and this work goes to, I'll just say one last thing. It goes to every aspect of my life. Microsoft was one of my clients of my other business. And I had a very, very high level, I don't want to say his name, but high level guy at Microsoft who was my client. And I took him out I got some free tickets to a fight because a friend of mine's a fighter. So I told him they're free, right? I didn't pretend like I bought them for him, right? And he's a big guy. This guy's a big guy. And I was making a lot of money off of this contract. And so I took him to the fight. And then afterwards, I said, "You hungry?" And we were at the station. And I said, "You want to try this noodle? There's a noodle place, $10. And he started fucking like almost knocking me off his nose. He's like, "You know something, Paul?" He goes, "No one's ever done this. No one's ever taken me to a $10." He goes, "I'd love to go. I like noodles." So we became friends. And I treated him exactly the way I would treat a friend. Right? Exactly the way I would treat a friend. And meetings with him were like no other meeting. Because he trusted me. Like we were truly friends. There was no client this. I mean, if he wants to buy my stuff at this, what I was doing, he can buy it. But I'm me. I'm not going to change at all. And that was like a big, because everybody else lives differently than that. They're always doing what they don't want to do. So I would always try to peel off and be yourself. And like, people will tell you it won't work. And I'm telling you, it worked for me. And it was fucking beautiful, man.
The one plus that I've always had, and my strength has always been able to take a group of people from the bottom to the top and instinctually know how to deal with all the people, whether they're... I dealt with a guy by the name of John Smale, who was the head of General Motors, all the way down to janitors, and being able to instinctually function with them and communicate with them. And I'd kind of like get back to that because I kind of drifted. I kind of coasted for about the last 15 years of just being somebody's employee.
Were your partners capable of doing that?
Not at all. I was the only person, and most of them resented me.
And was that the most important part of the business?
Yeah. I dealt with
exactly.
corporations and insurance companies, and I was the hub. But they didn't recognize me as a hub. They always found...
They never appreciate it.
No.
Just think about it tonight. Yeah. Think about it.
But that's always been my I was instinctually. I don't know what it is. There's something I've always had with being able to deal with people.
Yeah, that's your skill.
And that's my skill.
Thing, yeah.
If I may, I think what everyone's saying is right, and at the same time, like I've got like an experience. You had more experience dealing with people. I've had this one experience when I was in my late 20s. I went to build a building in Macedonia, and I've been away from there for many, many years, over a decade, and all I had was relatives and friends, whatever, dispersed. And I am also kind of against having a partner, even though I've been in a partnership with my brother. Huge mistake. Yeah, I know people, but I got my cousin overseas because he was kind of like one of the people that I knew, and he was a journalist at the time, but I had no experience in architecture, project management, design, red tape, dealing with the Balkans. That's a nice one. Blah, blah, blah. No experience. And I feel that, you mentioned before about having fear or whatever. I think he offered his help, and even though it wasn't part of the agreement, I was paying him anyway. But I did, I think it's very helpful to be able, one of the best skills I think anyone can have is to read people, like you were saying before, just be able to read the people. I think I'm good at that as well. But the irony is the closest people ended up fucking me over, But I found it very helpful to have this person while I was working on the project, and I don't think it was that much of a partnership. At the end of the day, it was me. Like I was holding a firm fist, with my decisions or whatever. But occasionally I will need help. But it was helping me out. Like I'm not sure if I think subconsciously, I think it was fear actually making me going, okay, he's offered his help. I trust him, and therefore I went ahead, and I ended up, building a 4-story building or whatever. No experience, no nothing. But that was a one-off experience that I've had where it's really worked for me. And it wasn't anything too sort of, like there were moments, but it wasn't anything that he was really helpful with. I can just say he was helpful with this mainly or whatever. He was pointing me at certain directions and whatever, but I was the one going in there, negotiating, embarrassing him, like with my negotiations, because I was explaining to you guys last night with the $2 projector and all that shit, and it was a big part how I made it. But so sometimes I do feel it's helpful, but I think you still have to keep a firm eye on I didn't have to keep a firm eye on the person, but having that instinct, knowing who you're dealing with, gold. But at the same time, yes, I went in a partnership with my brother, and he ended up completely ripping me off.
Oh, that's what happened to me. I ended up having to buy him out, but at the same time, I went through a divorce that was just fucking brutal.
Yeah.
But the one thing that always motivated me was the fear, and whether it's a relationship or not, it's as soon as I feel the fear, and it started. I was a fighter originally, and the original, it's overcoming the fear and sort of plateauing out, going to the next one, and going to the next level and to the next level. And that's where I got to the point that I was just smoked, I burned out, I was fried. But it was, now it's coming back, going back and getting that back in me, getting past the shit in the past, and now starting to look at new things. It's really not a monetary, and it's not a looking at what other people consider a success. It's what I consider sort of a comfort when I succeed but then once I succeed, going to the next level and getting that back to work. Because it was when I was younger, I would come up to the success, plateau out, and then go to something else. And go to something else and go to something else, and getting that back.
Let me just ask one thing. So you drive trains is one thing, but as an employee, right?
Yeah.
So what is the business when you are not an employee? Are you like an owner of a train company, like Warren Buffett? I mean, what do you do? Like, what is the business owner side? Like,
construction business. I was in what I was in.
Okay, it's another business.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Prior to everything. Prior to the
So construction, like what kind of stuff?
Restored buildings after fires and floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, and putting places back together, and got into where it was corporations. I was working for people like big companies, and they would hire me.
Did you work with FEMA and stuff like that?
No, I worked directly for the corporations.
Okay.
Big companies, and I had open contracts with them.
Do you want to do that again, or is that
No,
Okay.
Any part of that.
I see. Okay. I was just trying to get a picture. I was thinking,
I've done some big worldwide stuff where putting people in places and just basically Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall, and they give you a whole bunch of shit and say put it back together, and then figuring out how to do that. And
So you might be able to manage like a project for Fluor or Bechtel in Saudi Arabia or something like that.
Well, yeah. Well, in Saudi Arabia, I managed putting the Chinese built railroad, and then my job was to figure out how to put the place back together, the defective parts and things. But I had it was just political. It's too many people wanting hands in the pot and stuff, and a contract ended and they got somebody else.
So projects, is that what you want to do?
Yeah. No, I actually want to just be simple. Just if I just run a small painting company or something, sort of a retirement type thing, where I can flow into a smaller type thing, not really looking at changing the world or changing, just something keeps me happy, keep me busy and happy, and that I'm a success in. And not really looking, like I said, not really like changing the world or doing, and it doesn't bother me to completely change what I'm doing. Kind of in limbo with things.
Okay.
Kind of putting it together, and it's been a process of probably 6 or 7 months where things have changed for me as far as what I'm doing, and getting back to being that guy that can put an idea in his mind to focusing to doing things, where I'm not just being a robot for somebody, being their slave.
One of my things when I get really old, I want to make a surfing museum, and then have burritos, tables out back, So it's just a very simple thing, right? People come in like surfing stories. I have a lot of friends in the industry, so I get a lot of stories and different old boards and things, and and then just have like a very great fucking surfing museum, and then have a place to eat, bone some chicks that come through, and relax, and just have my thing, because I found out that museums, they're the great business. You just got a goddamn room and some stories, and everybody wants to go on a date to a fucking museum. People love to go to museums. In Japan, they got the Salt Museum, they got the Parasite Museum, they got every kind of museum. Yeah, they got the Kite Museum, and they all have people in them.
Parasite Museum.
Yeah, the Parasite. Dude, the Parasite Museum is super interesting. It's got a parasite that's like 30 meters long. It's like amazing. And they got inside a plastic see-through thing. And everybody goes because they think it's funny. And what does it cost to get parasites?
That's what I was thinking as well. That's right.
Yeah. And if you have a building, let's say 7 floors high, and then nobody uses the 8th floor, you can have the fucking 8th floor. Because you get one write-up in a magazine, and then everybody just comes on the weekends. Like, museums are a great idea. Like,
I never thought about
like just some kind of like mellow, here's the fucking museum. Somebody just opened up a prostitution museum in Pat Pong. I thought that's hilarious. And they had old fucking, I don't know what they have there, high heels and shit, pictures. And, yeah.
The 1970s and 1980s.
I don't know what's with the story.
And in the back.
Boys. Gentlemen, this is not a gallery, really, so...
That's cool.
Keep it clean, boys.
But the whole idea too was the whole idea coming to Australia. It was an opportunity I had, and it might be kind of lame, but it was like I saw that I was living in Portugal, and I was like, if I go to Australia and then I just bounce back to America, I'll have gone around the world. And who does that? Not very many people. And it's just part of the journey. I look at this whole thing in life as a journey. And even now it's even, dating and things like that. It's just a fucking journey. And life is just basically a big white canvas, and it's whatever I paint the fucking picture. And it took me a long time to, instead of painting the picture other people want, painting my picture, painting life as far as the way I want it painted. That's what really gets down to what's going on.
And you're feeling comfortable with how things are going in your life now?
Oh hell yeah! Things are. I'm flowing. It started about 2 years ago with the flow with things, and what it really was getting out of the being somebody's slave in America, and then an opportunity came for me in Saudi Arabia. But even prior to that opportunity, just sort of other things sort of flowing, and I'm getting the flow. I mean, I'm in the flow.
Nice.
That's it.
Is it still working? Just make sure it's still working. Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Got enough battery?
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. Hey, it's chime time, and we're at the Australia Summit, and it's been a good time so far. I've been sitting on this beanbag chair the whole time. It's wonderful. Let's see. So I went through this crazy divorce. Was married for 3 months. And
something in my life made me snap out of the fact that I was in like a verbally and physically abusive relationship where I was the one being abused for 4 years up until that point. And when I snapped out of it, I rebuilt my life on my own, even before I knew MGTOW, actually. And I had successfully rebuilt my life and was doing many things, making friends, had was on my way to rebuilding my career that was kind of dead for a while. I really had to get myself back into the mental groove. And that's when I first found Sandman, actually. If anyone know that channel?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't watch it anymore, actually. His voice doesn't do it for me anymore. But back then, I would listen to hours of Sandman at a time. And then I found Miggy, and then Miggy had a featured episode with Ronin, and that's how I found Ronin Man. And then I was hooked. I went to a summit in Bangkok about a year ago, and I think the best part about that summit was getting back into the same shit that I had been in before, you know. I found myself in another situation, but not like an abusive relationship or anything, but a relationship that just wasn't good enough. Like, you really want the best things in life. You don't want things that are mediocre. And I was definitely in a mediocre relationship where this girl was, you know, I was giving more value to her than she was providing me. Like, it wasn't even enough. So I think that's one of the best things that the last summit guided me toward. And MGTOW is wonderful. And Ronin wanted me to mention this while I was talking, that I travel to a lot of festivals around the world, and I'm very friendly with women. And I even run around with a women's collective. And women can be great. I've always loved girls. And since the last summit, I've had even more success getting laid and being more comfortable in work, getting raises. This kind of knowledge is really good, not just for sex life or just, you know, protection from yourself around women. It's really beneficial in visualizing what you can do as an individual in your career, and you know what you want to do, how do you want to establish yourself and goals, and that's basically where I'm at. And my goals and what I'm looking forward to. I mean, I keep coming to summits because we always have them in really interesting places, and I love traveling. But also, I like to be around you guys because everyone has really important stories, and you can't really get this level of insight without being around people, and around people who have a vision and a, you know, temptation to the greater good for themselves. You know, you guys definitely love yourselves, that's for sure. And that's good. You know, that's an important thing to learn and know and use to guide yourself moving forward. So it's that, you know, this is like going to the doctors for me for a checkup. You know, this keeps me running. It keeps me Ronin. Yeah. It keeps me Ronin, man. So, like, you know, you know, so one of the things. When I was talking in the circle in Bangkok, is that we are all Ronin, but like in these moments we are Ronin together. So it's really important that we are, as a collective, on top of our shit, and also on top of ourselves and our lives individually. But here we're together, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I don't know, does anyone have input?
What are you trying to get out of it, out of this meeting? Like, out of these meetings this time?
Like, what's your intention?
What's your intention? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You just hear happy lies.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy because I had thought this out and I kind of forgot about it up until you asked. Thank you, Dee, for asking that question. I've been traveling around the world at festivals and just at different public events and keeping an eye out for individuals that I think have talent. Like I think I have an eye for talent. And I like to share information with them, whether it's, photography lessons for free, yoga lessons, MGTOW talks, just kind of giving like therapeutic, life therapy advice. I listen to people and what they think their needs are and just my goal is to recreate Summit just everywhere around the world, whether it's just for men or if it's for women, for everyone. It's just what I have that's good in my head, being able to masterfully spread that all over the place. That's one of my takeaways from this summit. This helps me do that.
And also, people don't know you, right? But you're very successful too. So, because when they hear you, they think you just go to music festivals, but you don't have to talk about it. But it is important to know, it's like you're very successful also, on top of all that, which is awesome. That's the balance, right? You get, you feel good about yourself. You're being challenged. You have things are going well. You know what I mean on that side, and then you have the other side. It's a very balanced. That's what I see. And also like deep introspection, all that shit, right? So that's the goal, not to be missing stuff, right? You know what I mean? You got a lot going, like you dress good, you understand like shit, right? So like I like that. It's like you got a good, I can see that balance, because some people don't, right? Some people don't have the balance, right? And I think that's one of your things. You have a great balance of finances, money, girls, travel, creativity, self-help, and also you're like, you ask this guy what book he's reading, you'll just never be surprised. Like, you'll never cease to be amazed. Like, what is some fucking esoteric fucking book or whatever, like guy he's studying or whatever. He's always going deep into stuff, even though you don't say it. Like, you don't even think of saying it. Like, if you could see what he's in his mind, like he's doing a lot of shit,
Yeah, like you really are the living embodiment of that harmonious fusion between, business and financial success and finding that personal place, like that really personal spot where you're just in your zone.
That's his best thing. He goes deep in that.
Yeah. I don't want to know how deep you go, but
That's kind of the reason I'm here too, is because there's just no opportunity to run into a group of people like this without, this is a really unique opportunity. I mean, every one of us is a total different color of paint, so to speak. Every single one of us is a different tube of paint, and squirting a little bit out and a little bit there and mixing it all together, seeing what you get.
Sewage It's like a big squirt painting. So who else hasn't shared yet?
Thanks, Ray. My third summit. I keep coming back to these things because I really find them insightful, especially even when I feel like I'm learning about myself just as people are doing introductions. Particularly like Ronin, Dee, actually, and Jim, what Jim said too. Spent my life as a kind of people pleaser, mainly kind of raised by like narcissists and sociopath, the one that I just got rid of as of late. But really don't think about, not only, like Ronin said, protecting himself. I don't really too much to take care of myself or kind of care about myself. Still trying to learn how to do that. Since from birth, I was really taught, what other people want is what's important. Like, my opinion didn't matter, and I should do everything to take care of everyone else. And I was actually pretty good at it, rather successful in the blue pill world, even though I myself was miserable and it was killing me a day at a time. Even my last year before the divorce, I mean, I had got pneumonia twice. I mean, I was definitely starting to fall apart with that way of life. Then went through the divorce, which completely wiped out everything I was doing, all friends, all career, all everything. And I'm just kind of recovering from that and sort of this has sort of helped me decide, kind of a bit of a hermit. And, do I want to re-engage with society? Should I re-engage with society? And if I do, why do I want to do that? And I definitely need a good reason. It can't be, just because other people say I should, especially considering not living the blue pill life at the moment, even though compared to the people here, my life certainly seems much less interesting. But for me, it actually is the best it's ever been. So sometimes I go back and forth between, am I ungrateful that it actually got this good, even though I can sort of see where numerous people here even are doing significantly better than that. So that's kind of my goal. Like where do I want to go? Why do I want to do it? Why do I want to make the changes to kind of make life even better than it is? Although I'm pretty happy with it at the moment.
Well, you can stay here for as long as you want.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
The other thing too is, are you happy being by yourself, or are you happier with people? And then accepting which one is the best for you, and accepting that's.
Mm-hmm. Sure, I can answer. Yeah, so a lifetime of everyone around me just saying, you suck, do more for me. You suck, if you don't give me what I want, as soon as I want it, you're selfish. I'm much happier by myself than around those people. So yeah, that part, and actually, bizarrely, I find myself like smiling and laughing when I'm by myself, almost uncontrolled, like just in the supermarket or just driving down the road. People think I'm crazy, and I've never done anything like that before.
And that's what you need to focus with, I guess. And me too. I mean, I'm happier by myself than I am with a group of people.
And the only question is, would I be, I'm happy, I'm very happy here with the group like this, but I mean, like how much happier would I be if I was interacting with better people, if I could even identify them and I could find some way to even associate with them? And, can I even develop that skill, and then how would I?
Well, I love that you, because when people say to me, but I'm going to be really lonely if I don't have people around me, I say, well, there's a very big difference between solitude and loneliness. Like, that's a huge difference between those two. Fundamentally, in terms of logistics, it's the same. You're by yourself in both instances physically, but if you know how to actually be happy by yourself in solitude, that's so much better than being by yourself and feeling lonely. So I really feel like you've mastered this solitude thing while you're progressing yourself in a way that's healthy and beneficial for you. And I think it's really important that you continue to do that while at the same time developing your social dynamics in a way that's going to be positive and healthy and again, better for you, because you should never return, and I know that you know this, but you should never return to that dynamic where you're putting others before you, because that doesn't serve you, and you're doing a massive disservice, and anyone else who's listening is doing a massive disservice to themselves if they're taking that approach rather than looking at, well, how can I look after myself better and treat myself better?
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And yeah, and I, like, people talk about the whole like dying alone. I smile at the thought of dying alone, as opposed to I'm going to smile with a bunch of people around me going, get up, you lazy fuck, and do more for me. I would love to die alone, as opposed to dying with those people around me. So yeah, I actually, I can't wait to die alone. I'm looking forward to that, actually. It's true. It really is true,
There's one thing I want to add about you talking about the people you spend your time with. Mm-hmm. It's often not even the people you spend your time with, it's the kind of the relationship you have with them. For example, with this one person with you, they might be like this way, and with another person, they might be completely fine. And it might be because it's the way that you treat them or the way that you started the relationship. But I think people aren't so static, that they act differently depending on the situation.
Oh yeah, no, I don't, and I'm not entirely blaming anybody at all. I mean, there's no question a good part of it is the way that I'm behaving. I mean, I'm the one who's letting people abuse me, and letting, that's for sure. It's just, it's different. If you were trained that way from birth, it's challenging to break out of. I want to break out of it, but it's pretty difficult when that's what you've been, I'm talking like being told what my favorite color was when I was like 2. Like, nobody said, what's your favorite color? Like, it's blue.
What is your favorite color?
I don't know.
No, that's what happens when you're told.
That's what, right. When you're told, you don't know. You like, I
That's
can't.
actually the
Yeah,
honest answer.
that's exactly it. Yeah, that's true.
That's the honest answer. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Find out who the hell you are, right? Yeah. All right. That is a great. That might even be the deepest goal of all.
Hey guys, Gabriel. This is my fourth one of these, so I've got. I guess that's the record, right? If Racer Bill came, I think
so.
he would have been.
He just sent me a message. Yeah. He
Yeah.
says hi to everybody.
Yeah. So I have a really good life. I have a really good thing going. I work essentially 3 days a week, and I make like 6 figures, and but I'm beholden to, like, I have to be there. Like, there's no outsourcing it. Like, I have to be there. It's only done in a specific place. And at some point I need a break off from my life now, because if I don't, I'm going to regret it. You know, I'll always like being like, fuck, I should just leave. I still need to get some ducks in a row. The big one for me is like my student loans. I've never been an adult without debt because I've had my student loans the whole time. This last year in my traveling, I've spent at least 20 grand, and that's essentially like my student loans, right? Like, and when I spend, you know, doing these things, but I love doing these things, but it's like, okay, do I sacrifice this next year? Because it's so many things are enticing. It's like, oh, I could go to Prague, or I could go here, I could go there, and I like to travel a lot, but it's like, okay, I could just buckle down and like pay off all my debts and then like leave my job and go do something else. Because I've never really been like by myself also. I've always either lived with friends or I've lived like with family, you know, so I've never really struck out by myself. And, you know, I know I need to continue to grow. And there's not like meaningful growth in what I'm doing now. My brother has like a multi-family building, and he lives on one of the floors, and I live on the top floor. So I'm blessed, you know, I get to watch his kids grow up, and I get to spend time with my family. I come home to, you know, cooked meals and the kids running up to me and, you know, climbing on me, and it's really wonderful, and it's really good. And like I said, I feel like I'm barely at work, and I do whatever I want essentially, but it's very comfortable, and there's not a lot of growth in it. You know, these traveling things are good and I grow from them, but it's not challenging. I don't really have real challenge in my life. Which I've designed it that way, but now that I'm here, I'm like, fuck, you know, like I'm not really progressing in a way that, at the end of the day, I'll feel good about, you know, because I see coworkers. I had a coworker that retired recently, and it has everyone's like start dates on the board where it says their names and stuff, and it says like 1979 or something like that. At his retirement party, he was crying, and he was like, "This is all I know. This is my whole life." You know, I'm like, "Fuck." I'm like, no, not me. You know, because like I know if I'm him, I'll be crying also, but it'll be like from regret, like fuck. You know, like I've wasted.
I got some. Yeah.
This is interesting. When it comes down, you know, Haslow's hierarchy of needs. When you're more comfortable, you start being able to think. You know, you can come to these, you can travel, you can relax. Because I've done shit jobs. I've got a good job now, but it gets a bit boring. It's easy. It's comfortable. It's not 6 figures. It's about 70, 80, but I can bump it to 6 figures if I work overtime. But it's an easy job, so I can work after. Like, it allows me sort of mental freedom. And like Ronin says, I heard one of his videos, he likes it hard sometimes. Well, where do you get this balance between... And I've done shit jobs and done it really hard when I was an apprentice, and I've done other really shit-kicking jobs. And that's not nice either. And you don't get any mental freedom then either. So when do you get this balance between when the hard's worth it and when it's not, and you're getting the growth, but the growth's got to be going somewhere. Growth for growth's sake, or hard for hard's sake, isn't worth it. Well, I found that, and this is getting this balance. And as you're saying, like, you're sitting pretty, but then at the same time, yeah, I know, it's just weird. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, all right, I'll let you go with that. That's something, Ronin, I wanted to.
I'll just throw in a couple ideas. It's a common problem, and a friend of mine came to me with this problem. He was a high-level finance guy, and he told me he's going to quit. And so he's a good friend of mine, and I'm sure he'll listen to this. And I said, and all his friends were encouraging him to quit. Like, he had this great job, and I was like, something's wrong with this fucking picture here. Everybody's cheering this guy to quit this great job. And I realized suddenly that his friends were jealous of him. He had this killer job, making killer money with very little work. And it's very easy to, when you tell, I'm going to go find myself, a lot of people are going to cheer you off that cliff. It's like, yeah, quit that good job that makes all that money I'm jealous of. Yeah, go find yourself, And then, next thing you know, you got nothing, and it's like, these motherfuckers don't know what they're talking about, And so I would say that, but then again, continuing in golden handcuff situation long forever is not a good solution for most people. It can be, because some guys will write books or they'll find things to do on the side, that will fulfill them. They'll just say, okay, business is easy. Now what can I do with my other time, right? What can I build on my own? Like, you could do that. You could build something while you're doing that. Like, you could be at work studying and then getting home from work and building stuff. And you could do I'm sure there's some models out there of things that you could actually do that would actually change your life. Like one of my friends, he has a law firm, and he started a website. And the website became very, very, got a lot of traffic. Crazy. I mean, you can never expect to get this. And he started making more money with the website than the company, the law firm. And the law firm is very profitable. So he was like, it might even be the top, it probably is actually the top in the world for traffic for a legal blog. And so he gets a lot of clients from that too, right? So he's like, now he doesn't care about his law firm as much, and he hires other lawyers, and then he just basically enjoys himself because he has this kind of like advisor role somewhat, because he writes such good stuff, that people really want to read it, They were looking for somebody like a very experienced lawyer, top level, who could tell stories that would give you stuff that you needed to learn. I can tell you guys the website afterwards. I don't want to give away his name, but and so he built a better business inside his business. I would say don't quit something that's great with nothing. I just would be very careful about that. Like, a lot of people would think I would encourage you to say that, like, hey, get free, I'd say, because you mentioned regret several times. The thing you'll regret the most is if you lose everything and then you're just like, fuck, what am I going to do now? Like, and then you realize that nobody's there to help you. Like, everybody that said, go ahead and quit, they ain't going to be there to help you, right? So there's two ways you could save money. And what I would probably do is save money like a bastard. And then, of course I would do the things that make me happy, like certain things, like if travel makes you happy, I would find a way to do it cheaper. I would find a way to do it on the cheap, but I would continue some pressure valve, let the pressure out, right? A little bit. And then just fucking bank money, just bank money. How much can I save per month? And just bank. And then once you got that money, cash is king. You never know what you're going to be able to do with it. There might be another real estate crash. You might have a great opportunity to get like a 6-unit building, very high cash positive. When things go downhill, you get opportunities like crazy. The guy with cash, he's fucking styling when the thing goes down, right? And that's like a golden opportunity, So having cash is a good thing. So I would say, if it was me, I would just save cash blindly if I didn't know what I was doing. And other people would build a business inside that. I don't like that because it's too complicated. I don't feel like people really do build businesses. My friend did, but it's pretty fucking rare. Most people, they can only do one thing. So, business, save money, and then it's to have some fun. But it will give you that goal you're talking about. That goal can only come from you. You waiting for somebody to give it to you? They ain't going to give it to you because they don't know you. You know, they can give you a goal that might be a great goal. But as we were talking about, it's like complicated for what you really want. So if you really want to do something, I would say if you don't know what to do nothing, you know, for sure. Because the idea of, oh, go do something, go try something, fuck that. You know, find something worthwhile and then save up and then just save. So let's say you save like $300,000. Just not that big amount of money, but a good amount of money over the next 5 years, right? $300,000, fuck, that is a powerful fucking bomb. You can get you into a lot of things. The first investor at Google was $100,000. You know, the first investor, yeah.
So you reckon cash does give you confidence?
It does give you confidence. It does. It does give you confidence. You start to realize that you go to work with it, and I've done this before. I put a thing on my wall. I hid it. I didn't want people to see it because it's very important you do this for yourself. So inside of my closet, I taped all these A4 papers together, and I made a big a bar chart, and then I had a red pen, and I had it on a string, and then I had it in there, and then I would just every time it was $100,000. I was teaching English back in the 90s, right? Yeah, and I was eating cancer. Every time I saved any money, you know, it was even $100. I put it in there, and that gave me like, yeah, you know, they almost kicked us out of Disneyland because I was eating a lunch on Main Street. I didn't know you couldn't eat. I didn't even think about it. And then the guy was really pissed off. He thought I knew. I'm like, I really didn't know. Yeah. But you know, the thing is like I saved money, and then all of a sudden I went to work, and one day I went to work, and I had made like $6,000 in the stock market that night. And I went to work, and I remember feeling this confidence, like the boss is being a dick. And he was well known as a dick. And I remember thinking, I just had this confidence. I was like, yeah, well, whatever happens here. I made $6,000 last night. So like I'm thinking to myself, whatever happens. And if you've never had that feeling, it's an amazing feeling. It really is. It's a killer feeling. It's like, you know, because you're making money from him, right? And from your job. And you're also making money on the side that no one can stop it, right? No one can control it. So I would say the two things: build a business in it, or save money to build a business. Or if you know what you want, then start going towards that. But it's really difficult to know what you want. But that malaise, that golden handcuffs, you got the gold. Don't forget that. You know how many fucking people in the world want to have what you have? A lot. 3 days a week, 6 figures. Are you fucking kidding me? Slap yourself in the fucking mirror once in a while and ask yourself, like, go around and say, you know, would you like to have 6 figures in 3 days a week? Just ask people, you know?
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
3 days a week,
Yeah.
10 hours a day, or 3 days a week, 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
No, it depends.
It's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. And it's not a hard job. It's not like a dangerous job getting your fingers cut off all the time.
I mean, it is a little dangerous, but whatever.
Yeah. You like it, yeah.
I would say clear your debts.
Yeah.
100%. Debts. Got to get rid of them. But much more than that. Much more than that.
Like I'm just saying that is number one. Just
Yeah.
like
Get the cash going.
debts.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way, and then
You will start standing up. It's not that you have money makes you confident. It's that you did it.
Yeah.
It's that you know, like when you quit smoking, it's like just not smoking. A lot of people never smoked. But it doesn't matter. If you smoke for 30 years and you quit, you feel like just great. You're like, I beat that bastard, right? Not smoking, you know? And so, you know, like it's all about you, right? And you save that money and you'll feel good. You know you didn't do it before, you know?
So there's one thing that I feel pretty clear on what I want to do is I want to move to Tokyo. Especially after we went. Like, I had an idea, you know, in my mind, like, oh, I want to go to, you know, move to Japan. But then, like, actually being there, I was like, yeah, this feels right, you know? Like, I felt really good there. I don't know if it was just because I was just high on life or whatever, but I was like, yeah, this feels... Yeah, I was like, this feels really fucking cool. I want to be here. Yeah.
who's going first, you or me?
You'll probably be there, but fuck, I'll visit whoever. We'll visit each other, whoever.
Yeah. You can't hate girls when you lived in Japan.
Oh man, it's
There's
so
just too
good.
many sweet
yeah,
girls. Like,
there's
it's hard. It's impossible.
I still have some advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill your boss.
Oh man. Well, I was just telling you, I got my boss fired that one time, but yeah. So I had to get rid of my boss. She had to go. I feel it wasn't a he. Jeez. Well, so I mean, like, you have long weekends, right? And I live what I call the jet setter lifestyle, where I challenge myself. You're looking for a challenge. I really, really challenge myself. And like these festivals, I go to 1 or 2 a month, and it requires me to have like a lot of preparedness. Like I have a backpack, have to have sleeping arrangement. I have to not depend on anybody else. I have to be completely self-reliant. And then I have to go out and meet people and, socialize and make sure that I have a good time and like look up music. And I'm constantly packing and unpacking and packing, unpacking, cleaning, keeping my house straightened out. It's a challenge. Like, that's my formula, and I just wanted to share it with you. And also just, so people know like kind of what I'm doing anyway. Like, it's good to have a challenge. I know what you're looking for, and I feel like I found it, but maybe you could do something like that.
He's doing both.
He's
doing it too.
Yeah, and I am working full time. I work 5 days a week when I'm not sneaking away from the office or working from home. I make it work. I get ahead of my work, make sure everything is accounted for, keep all, the books in line, and feel free to travel with me. I mean, that's a huge part of my Chime Time program is that I invite everybody to come party with me. So like, yeah, come with me. I'm talking to Ronin too. Like we're gonna go do something this year.
I was just thinking we should do a video of you unpacking your bag.
Yeah.
Just showing the what you just have, because people like to see like a very, very intelligent travel pack.
So I have loadout videos on my YouTube channel.
Oh,
yeah, but
let's do one here. Let's do it with what you brought.
Yeah, sure, we could do one here. We'll do that later. It'll be great.
Yeah, why you got everything in there? What you used to have, why it didn't work. Why this is the best. Why it's waterproof, why it's this, why it's that. Yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah,
right on.
Because I know you got good shit. That's why. It's yeah. All right, pass it on.
Yeah, sorry.
I think everybody's done.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve did it.
Yeah, we did.
Steve, yeah.
Yeah, we've gone all the way around.
Yeah, that's it. Woo! Close it up.
All right.
Yeah, so I guess this
Great.
is the end of day one, and it's what an incredible depth of knowledge we've gained from each other, and all of these shared stories and all of these light bulbs I've seen going on in everyone else's head, mine included. This is just a really cool place to be. I feel really, really humbled that I'm able to be a part of this, and I know all of you guys feel the same way. So we're going to wrap this up. For day one of the MGTOW World Summit in Melbourne 2020 is concluding now, and we will see you tomorrow.